morning and welcome to Zen Fits. Here we are in Blackstone, Virginia, the center of the world, but then you too are at the center of your world. So the title of this talk, and I'm kind of excited about it, because I've been writing about and musing on and discovering insights in this impeachment. And today I'm connecting Dr. Hill and the Bhagavad Gita. Now, for those of you on the spiritual, that have been seeking, usually run across the Bhagavad Gita. I ran across it when I first began the practice of yoga, serious yoga with all the Indian trappings and all that. The Bhagavad Gita was kind of like the scripture. It was kind of like the jewel in the lotus. And so I had to read that. And I read it. I've been reading it all my life. It's even my first guru, Swami Rama, carried a little Gita around with him. And when he would sit in meditation, he would sit there. You could hear him turning the page of the Gita as we meditated. He would read the Gita, So it's kind of like the Heart Sutra in Zen. You just read it over and over and over and over and over again. So the Gita came back to me today when I was watching Dr. Hill. Now, to give you a brief outline of the Gita, is the Bhagavad Gita takes place during a great civil war in ancient India, and Arjuna, the warrior who is to fight in this civil war, realizes that if he fights in this civil war, he's going to kill his teacher on the other side. He'll kill his uncles on the other side. It's a civil war, split the family. So it's a double bind. If I got in fighting this war, if I win, I'll kill my family. So I quit. So he throws his bow down, says, I don't know what to do, I quit. And so his charioteer was Krishna, who was God in disguise. Or let's say, your wisdom mind in disguise. And they stop on a little hill, Dr. Hill, and they overlook the battlefield of can't pronounce it, the battlefield. They pause. They pause in the moment of not knowing. And he turns to Krishna and says, teach me. So the whole Bhagavad Gita is really a prose poem of the teaching, and it comes in different ways. But the primary lesson, the primary question here, what is duty? What is correct action? What should I do when I don't know what to do? When whatever I do is wrong, in a lose-lose situation. Usually we have panic attacks, or we go running to the nearest authority to tell us what to do. But Arjuna went to Krishna, the Lord, if you will, or Guru, or whatever. But anyway, so the teaching was, put it in a nutshell, which kind of like which we'll pick up here, was that do your duty, but without concern for the fruits of your action. Do your duty without concern for the results. So that means be fearless, first of all, because fear means concern with the results. Fear is concern about if I'm wrong, or what the future. Fear is a concern about the future and the results of your actions. So if you act fearlessly, you have no concern for the future. If you have no concern for the future, you are acting spontaneously. So the question is, if I act spontaneously, if I just act, you see, is it going to be the right action? Well, then Krishna says, do your duty. Well, what's your duty then? We think of duty as being our role, what people tell me to do. In the impeachment is what the president tells me to do. That's my duty, to do what the president tells me to do, you see. So Dr. Hill, to try and connect these two, is on a hill, and she overlooks the battlefield of two duties. The two duties are duty to country And in her situation and in the civil servants is duty to the foreign policy of the country or duty to the president, who is also the country. You see, two countries. So the president's will said do this, and the national security policy said do that. And Dr. Hill discovered and reported this beautifully, that two wills diverged into two separate but opposite wills of the same country. You see the double bind? You see the trap? If I do this, I can't do that. If I do that, I can't do that. But America is split into two wills. The will of the president, who is America, the commander-in-chief, you see. America in flesh and blood. America as the will of America, America as the president, America as the one person, you see. Or the policy of America, which is based on national security, or the security of America, or America's interest, you see. So the interests of America were split here between the interest of Trump and the interest of America, but they were both America. You see the double bind? So most would say, I don't know, well, I'll do one or the other. Because you can't do both at the same time. You can't do both wills that are opposite at the same time. You can't fulfill the Lord's prayer and say, thy will be done. Because thy will is two. You see the impossibility of this, the beauty of this dilemma that we are looking at here in real time on the screen, you see? It's universal. It's the Bhagavad Gita. So Arjuna was a warrior, so obviously his duty was to fight. But what if your duty is a husband, a wife, a child, a student, a plumber, a carpenter? What is your duty? Just being homeless is a duty in a sense. In other words, your duty is in the Indian sense, it's called dharma. You see, it's duty. But then there are separate duties, like duty to my family versus duty to country, or in this sense, the two duties, duty to the president or duty to the nation. You see, the two duties, which is the larger duty? Which is the larger duty? Which fits within the other? You see. Now, the duty to the president, when the president is doing the nation's will, when the president's duty is the will of the country, then you got one will. But with Trump, you see that separated, so that Trump's duty is to trump his interests, which conflicted with the interest of the nation, you see. So now you have an obvious split in will. And this makes us psychotic. Because we have to obey one will, but it's two and we can't. We have to obey the Lord. Thy will be done on heaven and earth, you see. But what if heaven and earth are split in their opposite wills? But you must obey one will. There's only one will. Whenever we get split, we become neurotic, we become psychotic, we become schizophrenic, you see. Well, and our wills are all being split in everyday situations. Should I do this or that? Should I stay at work? My boss said, stay at work. My wife said, come home. What should I do? We're always being torn by the Gita. We're always being split. And the field of action is divided. When it's not divided, it's easy. You do what, you know what to do. You do it, no problem. But when it gets divided, now we got a dilemma. Now the will is split, you see. What do we do? So now we have to turn within and surrender and say, I don't know what to do, but I'm not quitting. I'm staying engaged. You see, Arjuna said, I don't know what to do, so I quit. I'm leaving. I'm going to go live in a cave, or I'm going to go on vacation and go sit on an island somewhere. You see, I'm not going to play anymore. Well, that is an avoidance of duty, you see. So you can't avoid duty. So how do you act in your duty and not avoid it and transcend the duality of duty? the dilemma of duty. That's the spiritual path. That is the Bhagavad Gita. That's the Heart Sutra of Zen. You see, how do we, when we don't know what to do, well, Arjuna didn't leave. He threw down his bow. He said, I don't know what to do. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to act. But he stayed engaged. He was curious. He opened. And he was able to rest in not knowing. And this is the key. So if you can rest in not knowing what to do, the knowing what to do will arise, but it will be creative. You will do something you didn't know or expect to do. You will do something that is not one or the other. You'll do something entirely different that's creative, and you'll do that. The idea of what to do is a creative idea, and the seeing what to do is the doing. So you find yourself doing something unexpected. There was a little video I've been writing on this morning of a cat who was running across the street to catch a rat, and he was going to that rat, and he got to the rat, and the rat turned and attacked the cat, and the cat leaped out of the air and took off with the rat chasing him. As I read on that morning, I thought that was beautiful, because the rat is expected to be the prey, and the cat was expecting to be the predator, but when the rat turned and became the predator, the role was reversed and the cat became the rat, and the rat became the cat, because the rat took a creative action and stepped out of his role and discovered a higher duty, you see. The role of the rat was to be a rat and run from the cat, and the role of the cat was to chase the rat. But the rat reversed the role, and in the relationship between the cat and the mouse, this is a relationship of opposites. One eats the other, you see. But when this reversed that way, the role reversed and the cat became the rat. You see how that happened? Because they're in a relationship. They're not separate. I don't know how that relates, but the point is Dr. Hill, we finish up here, sits on a hill, and her mind was able to observe the battlefield of the Ukrainian conflict of duties, national security, which was her duty, the president's duty, which was his interest, and she was able to dissect this intellectually while at the same time being engaged in it. So she was both in the battle, but at the same time she was on the hill observing the battle and analyzing it and seeing it objectively, while at the same time she was subjectively in the battle. Now that's the Bhagavad Gita. When you're both engaged in life at the same time, you're subjectively in your doing your duty, but at the same time you're outside of it, you see, free from it. You're both doing your duty and not doing it at the same time. You are a union of opposites in your action, not in your person, but in your action. Your action unifies the opposites. And the action comes spontaneously. Athletes call it being in the zone. You watch a basketball player, suddenly a team gets in the zone, and they're just passing the ball like crazy, and the other team is like, well, I can't catch up with that. And they're passing it behind them, and they're just throwing the ball, and it goes in the thing. They can't do wrong. They're in the zone. They have transcended the game. Anyway, that's my Zen fit for today. And think of that when you see Dr. Hill and Arjuna on the hill overlooking the battle of Ukraine, or the battle between the president and the Congress, and the battle of wills. What would you do? Thanks for dropping in.